So what you're saying, it's the world versus the crow, because that's kind of unfair.
Not the world, a good portion of the world, but the real devout followers. Like all the Vatican's going to be like his generals.
What the fuck's the Pope going to do? Get him!
I mean, I don't know the crow's powers though. Is he going to take a lot of his energy, knocking down all these old men on the way, grabbing all the little boys out of their hands and stuff, you know?
Holy Jesus!
Kd Hinken presents
That is very funny.
the Babyface and the Goth.
What the fuck is that? North Korea!
Babyface and the Goth.
I got something to do. I got to go do boom, boom, boom.
So the thing I wanted to ask you then, which I thought could be a good little ongoing thing we can do in this, a new little segment, I guess, would be a good thing. A segment. Who would win in a fight?
Oh, good lord.
And I thought we'll start off with the first one. I was trying to rack my brain as to who to start off with. I thought I'll start it this time and you could maybe come up with it next time and we'll just go through it. But first of all, who would win in a fight between Jesus and the crow?
Isn't the crow like the undead mime goth dude?
Yeah. But
Brandon Lee's played him for a while.
hence why I would need your knowledge on this, because I don't really know anything about what he does. I only heard it in something recently, and they were talking about his powers, and I was like, I didn't know he had all these powers.
Are you talking like full power mode Jesus? Like, are we talking like the Son of God? You know,
Well,
resurrection and everything.
This is the debate, isn't it? This is what we need to work out.
Well, are we talking Jesus the man before he was the prophet? Are we talking Jesus the God? Well, the third of God? Christianity is confusing.
Does his power level, or I don't know,
Well,
like his skill set, does his skill set go up at all?
Well, if you take his skill set from the Bible, what do we know he can do?
I was going to say, what's his skill set from the Bible?
Food, he can walk on water.
He can multiply food, he can
He
walk
can
on water.
resurrect after, was it 3 days or something like that? So it's
Resurrect
like shit
himself,
respawn time.
yeah. So he's like Deadpool.
Yeah, a bit like...
He'll come back to life, seeing he's like burn him and stuff to kill him.
If we take it, obviously, face value. So that's 3 powers.
Gotta turn the other cheek.
Walking on water, multiplying food, and he can heal people, so that's pretty cool.
He performs miracles in general, though. What constitutes as a miracle?
The problem is his miracles weren't like...
They're a bit ambiguous, aren't they?
They were
They were pretty
in the nicest way. I mean, don't get me wrong, the food thing's pretty cool. The healing people's cool. Walking on water...
Yeah. Walking on water, I mean, it's called ice. It's not that big.
We have boats, it's fine. We can get that fast.
Yeah.
How fast can Jesus run? Well, he's not exactly going to run across the fucking ocean, is he?
Yeah.
So,
We got ice skating
He
as well.
doesn't have superhuman speed. You can't use any kind of projectile unless he plans on like spawning bread and throwing them at people. And the bread in the old days, man, it was mostly like flour and water, so it'd be pretty bloody hard.
He's not very good with technology because of when he was born, but at the same time he's a dab-hander like a carpenter. Maybe he's like the Magneto of wood.
I suppose if you take
Control wood in general.
But the question is, he's never used it with a miracle of some sort, so it's not like he can craft a baseball bat. Maybe he could multiply the baseball bats?
Maybe craft it and multiply it, yeah. But what are you going to do with a room full of baseball bats, though? Give them to your followers, I guess. Army followers of baseball bats.
Well, you crack every single one of them off somebody, so if you're fighting like an impossible thing and you have the strength to break a baseball bat over someone, at least you've got tons to use.
True. That's the thing, though, actually. We're talking about Jesus. He's going to have all his homies behind him. His
disciples.
Yeah, well, not even just his disciples. He's going to have all his homies following Christianity in general.
So what you're saying, it's the world versus the crow, because that's kind of unfair.
Not the world, a good portion of the world, but the real devout followers. Like all the Vatican's are going to be like his generals.
What the fuck's the Pope going to do? Get him! He's going to literally he's...
Well, yeah, I didn't say it'd be a hard... Yeah, he could bat down all them pretty easy, but, it's going to... I mean, I don't know the crow's powers, though. Is he going to take a lot of his energy, knocking down all these old men on the way?
Well, first of all, the crow...
Grabbing all the little boys out of their hands and stuff,
It's not, from what I can remember from the film, that was quite some time ago. I haven't seen any of the prequels properly, that I can remember off by heart, but obviously base his powers... he's pretty much impervious to damage. He can grab people and obviously...
He's impervious to damage. Pain. So he gets hit and he just can't... Or is he just can take a lot, Superman level?
In the film he got shot off a table by multiple mobsters, with all sorts of weapons. So he fell off the table, disappeared. But he can literally,
But did he actually get shot though?
Wow.
Well, okay, not the actor, not Brandon Lee.
Technically, yes. If you count it, yes.
Yes, he got shot. He went in him and that, and then he just regenerated.
In both senses, except the one.
So it's not that they bounced off him or something.
No, he took the hits and then he hit the deck and disappeared.
Okay, so it's more like a Deadpool kind of thing.
So he can use like localized kind of teleportation.
This is the thing, I want to really break this down. We need to figure out who would win in the fight between these two.
So he
I need to know his powers.
He also did this one thing in the film where he made like some bad guy feel a dying person's last moments on Earth. So like 30 hours of agony, you know, talking rape and stab wounds and everything like that, horrible pain until she died, pretty much bleeding out internally.
So he could just go around like touching all these people and
make
grab
you by the face and make you feel someone else's pain. So imagine if you put Jesus through like
his own crucifixion again,
a couple of hundred times, you know, over as many seconds. So that's one thing. He could probably like fuck his brain up using that.
Are they actually there for that amount of time, or was it just go through that amount of time in a second?
You only saw him in the film of literally put 30 hours of pain in like a split of a couple of seconds to the dude.
So he started doing this, and then he went
fit and die.
Oh yeah, so you saw it from beginning to end what he was going through, kind of.
Well, so
he was in that moment.
You grab his face and go, 30 hours of pain, all for you. And you see flashes of like the things the last went through, and he just literally within 5 seconds of transferring.
Okay, yeah,
he was dead.
So it happened in that 5 seconds.
In that 5 seconds, or
yeah.
So if we take that
like Ghost Rider,
you can make everyone feel the suffering.
Feel my their pain, or something like that.
No, just look into my eyes.
Look into my eyes. Don't look around the eyes. Look into my eyes.
You're undead. Well, you're undead.
You're undead. I was still a fan of the Ghost Rider film. I haven't seen the second one still. I heard it's crazy.
I don't remember actually seeing it. There's still a Cage in it.
It still has Cage in it, but apparently it's one of the other directors where they just went balls to the wall with it, more so rather than... Naturally. But Ghost Rider was a bit crazy in the comics, so it was a bit more balls to the wall. It was a bit tame.
In the Blade comics, they're crazy.
You saw that they announced who the new Blade is, didn't you? That they're going to do a new film and they announced the guy.
Wasn't the guy from Marvel? Was it someone else?
What? No, it is someone from Blade is a Marvel film. It's going into the MCU.
Yeah, was the guy who plays him? Was he another guy from? Was he another Marvel actor? Or was he just?
No, it's going to be in the MCU, so he's not in the. But
because obviously, if you remember the cartoon, the Blade was around when the man spider thing happened.
Yeah, he kind of is in Marvel already, but not really. He was just like one of the main bad guys / henchmen in the Luke Cage program.
Not that much, maybe.
But that.
Obviously being like a kind of ambiguous biker with a sword in the old cartoons, that's all I remember.
Yeah, the films are going to be that, but the actual guy playing them now is just some kind of random and more so. I swear he's got Prince in his name, that's what I remember. Okay. I don't want to make an attempt at his name because it will sound racist.
Yeah, please don't.
I probably shouldn't do.
So we'll just call him the gentleman who's playing Blade.
The gentleman who's playing Blade.
Prince, but Prince turned himself into a symbol, so it can't be him.
Prince turned himself into a symbol. So this Mr. Chip just seems everybody only wants to discuss me.
Don't please.
He did turn himself into a symbol though, you're right.
That's why he was the artist calling him as Prince. I think he was being sued or something. I think that was the reason. I can't remember.
Oh, God knows. God knows. People are called Prince and stuff anyway. I think he was just a weirdo.
No, it's a very popular name.
That's what I'm saying. People are called Prince anyway, so he shouldn't have been getting sued for it.
No, I think it was...
I mean, so people should get sued for having that name, but I don't think that happened.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fucking dumb name.
But you're not exactly going to meet some random person and go, his first name is Prince, his last name is Albert, or choice of Prince, of course.
Unless his name was Prince Ali, I wouldn't be into it. Prince Ali, Ali, Baba.
Actually, I think we might have a book. It's basically on the Aladdin kind of story.
Like a cheap one.
Yeah, but it had two genies in it. It had a green genie from a ring and a genie of the lamp, the blue one.
Oh, feuding genies.
No, they were cooperative sort of. The green genie was like weak ass compared to the blue one, but that kind of like, what the? This is so you don't get sued, isn't it? You change the story slightly.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we have two genies now. Haha. Better than Disney Plus.
It was like a Romeo and Juliet love story behind it. Between the genies.
I mean, the genie was technically genderless.
Yeah, there you go. It's a future genie, of course it's going to be gender neutral. Of course it is, it's from the way of future, and we all know that makes sense, and the future people would know it too.
Was the genie in the old cartoon referred to as him?
I don't know, to be fair, no. I mean...
But these days, it's like...
Never saw a bulge, anyway. And
you had the tail, so you've got to count that. The wispy thing, didn't it?
I can't remember. I remember wasn't he the originator of the man bun? Or that just
the top knot? Technically did have the top knot there, but
Feels like one of them things I might just be remembering wrong as well, though.
But then
I don't
you
know.
remember like seeing old films like in that kind of that part of the world, the east part of the world, where literally they just have like a single plaque coming from the top of their head.
Like
very popular.
Chinese, like, what's the word? Like the old classic kind of China, like the dynasties and all that.
Yeah.
They always had that like back. Yeah.
Ponytail.
Yeah, that's why like you just get called like samurais and stuff, and I had it. They go for the samurai style. It's like, it's racist, but okay.
Yeah, but that hangs down with that, like kind of using the awesome kind of fan shit. Well, it looks cool, doesn't it? We look like garbage bags.
We completely forgot about the crow and stuff.
Yeah, we got massively off topic. Thinking back to the powers, basically.
Yeah, the powers, we need to work this out still.
Jesus has defensive powers, the crow has some attacks and movement powers.
What does he actually do attack-wise then?
He uses guns and knives and I think he killed one person to kill himself.
So he could, if he has like quite a lot of energy too, if he's like semi-undead from the sounds of it, then he should be able to mow down a lot of these cardinals and the vicars and stuff that are all banding towards Jesus, so he can get to the main boss at least.
We didn't see him do anything too exertive, so how do we know he's just not quite like... He was quite... I mean, he could move quickly with the shadows and all that, but he didn't do anything like overly...
So he's more likely to sneak into...
It was like he was very much human, but he could do... Like he could be shot and...
Sneaky.
You could teleport about the place, look, and obviously you can like insert pain into your head.
So he is sneaky.
He is, so he has movement ability and an attack ability.
He sounds more like an emo Batman. That's what it sounds like. One more emo Batman.
To be fair, actually, he was quite depressing shit.
Did his parents die?
No, he and his missus died.
Oh.
The crow's dead.
Oh, so he's already got the undead powers.
Prison also.
Oh,
terms, yeah.
so this is a perfect fight then, in that case, a fight of the two resurrected people.
One based on trying to redeem humanity, the other one based on revenge.
Yeah, so they're both post-resurrection we're talking about, aren't we? So, yeah, they're both mastered their powers.
They both have respawned, yes.
Yeah. But the difference is, though, can Jesus respawn over and over? I imagine he can. He would just be coming back down to this world to fight. He's coming back down to this arena, this boxing...
The problem is...
Imagine like an arena, like an octagon is where this is happening. So Jesus come down in the earthly realm. He's in fighting mode against the crow. Should it be in an octagon or should we have it that they just meet up randomly?
I think it'd be more of like a coliseum or maybe like a kind of like a vacant ground. So there's nothing around that they can use to gain any kind of advantage. So we'll make it the fairest fight possible.
Do they start in certain places like you would on, say, Tekken, or they just, like, they've been told to come here, and then they come and one sneaks upon the other one?
Basically, they're both walking to the same place at the same time.
Okay, so it's like Tekken.
They're waiting for them.
They come in to start, they square up, round one, let's just fight to the death.
Yeah, and then obviously Jesus throws his hammer and kicks off from there.
Jesus throws his hammer?
Yeah, he's a carpenter, isn't he?
Oh, okay, I thought we were talking like Thor then.
Well, they'd be pretty messed up. Like, I got Thor and Jesus mixed. I was like, which one had the hammer?
It stands to reason, though, that, all religions are based on different things. So Jesus, the real Jesus, might have had an actual Thor hammer. That's why they thought he was a carpenter to begin with. He was just like, this is just my little chisel for my plane. Really, it was Mjolnir. What?
I wonder if they used his own hammer to nail him to the cross then.
Maybe.
If he did have that one, of course. No, it didn't, because Border ate it.
It's a straight up fight between the crow and Jesus, though.
Basically.
There's nothing to manipulate in the area.
We're talking, the only thing that the crow has a slight close quarters combat edge in regards to, obviously, the pain ability and the pretty much long distance advantage of not taking damage.
I think it should just happen like in a random place, so then there are things to hide behind and all that.
Nothing to really tell about the place. Obviously, the crow in the film I saw demonstrated.
How is it like a giant city?
Strength. He wasn't super strong or anything like that. We're not talking like So we're talking pretty much man strength versus like old carpenter man strength.
Ye old carpenter man.
Yeah, the area.
So like in a giant city with all different like things around. So there's all different types of environments around. Like in the game, you got like the wooded bit, you got the city bit, you got the desert bit, you got the bog bit. I don't know.
Very fantasy-like, isn't it?
Yeah. But this can go forward like this now, though. We've worked it out now. It can go forward.
So ultimately, the crow would win.
You reckon the crow would win then? Sneaky around.
The problem is, though, once again, if Jesus could really, keep coming back, depending on it's going to be 3 days, and they're probably going to have to fight again.
That's the only thing. It would happen.
It would be a paradox.
But
you know, an event that just can't end.
But wouldn't his body just be there though? And then he's just like, okay, as soon as he won, he would realise, okay, nothing's happening. Like, he wouldn't just get beamed out as the winner. So he would be like, I'm going to chop off his body then now, get him to that point.
To be fair, I mean, Jesus did take over his old body as it disappeared, assuming
Yeah.
fixed it and healed it and blah, blah, blah.
This is a fight to the death. At the very least, if
How
he
far
can...
does his healing go? You know,
Yeah.
Can he be cut up into multiple pieces and magically stick back together? Obviously, we're talking magic here.
But then he's the son of God as well. Can he just make a new one? I feel like he can just make a new one. Or pop into another person's body.
If we take God's stats into consideration.
Exactly. You know, they're one and the same, aren't they, apparently?
Bam, body.
You know what? I feel like that would be the case.
Yeah, let's just say that God couldn't get involved.
Okay, God's ruled out of this. Yeah, he
So
can't get involved.
we'll just say it as like, we put it into perspective. It's like almost as if the devil is sending himself a general, and so is God. And obviously, the first battle was Jesus. So
Naturally, the devil would send a crow.
Yeah, throwing up big players there. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't use Spawn. You know, he's pretty badass hell general.
Or Spawn.
Yeah, Spawn.
Yeah, that's more the kind of thing you'd throw at, not the crow.
I suppose he just wanted to get rid of him and just go.
Yeah.
And then surprisingly, he wins alone. Shit.
What, the crow?
Yeah, of course he'd win.
I don't know if he can keep coming back Jesus over and over and over. I reckon Jesus might have. But then again, as much as he can come back, what's he ever going to do?
He'd mind crucify him every single time. He's like, crucified him in the mind 1,000 times over.
But by the time it would take to kill... So if he could just take over another body each time, it'd be infinite. So eventually the crow's going to die of old
when
age.
Jesus turns the other cheek, is he like immune for a bit? Is he like invincible? You know, is that possible?
Maybe.
It's just like, it's like sounds like a shield or something like that, you know. But obviously talking...
Actually, we said taking God's powers out of it as well, so he can't keep coming back. So yeah, I reckon you're right. The crow probably would win.
Technically, you know, if you take like some bits and bobs from the Bible, God, the Holy Ghost, and Jesus are the same people, same person.
That's the debate, any
I
day.
can't understand if that's like a metaphor or...
Oh, everything in the Bible is a metaphor. Everything should be ignored.
Take a pinch of salt.
Yeah. I'm going.
It's an interesting read, but
No, yeah. From what I remember trying to read this, and it just didn't make sense the way it's written, because obviously it's an old thing compared to now, and it's just like, what the fuck does this even mean?
well, if you read an old book and then read that, you're like, what the hell's with these tiny ass paragraphs? Who wrote this book?
The tiny paragraphs, is there?
You never read one.
I can't remember. I don't remember ever taking it in. I've tried to read it. I know I've tried to read the Quran and I had the same issue with that.
Well, probably that was in a different language.
No, it was translated. Yeah.
I'm sure it's a lovely book.
I'd probably have more of a chance of reading the Quran if it wasn't translated, because at least I can just have fun making words up.
Some parts of the East in regards to the Quran. In India's the Quran, isn't it? No, of course not.
The Quran's like Islam and all that, have like Middle East and all that. I think India's more Sikh and stuff.
What's the Sikh book called then?
Oh, I can't remember, to be honest. They like...
My RE teacher's probably weeping.
They're coming from like a warrior tribe, not warrior. Warrior... I want to say warrior class, warrior tribe, but it was like a warrior clan, yeah, whatever they'd call it back then. Clan with a C, not K.
You got to remember that. Something like that.
They wore different kind of material on their head.
It wasn't as fashionable as the turban, I must say.
No.
There is an accent.
These look quite cool though, to be fair, when you see them when they got like the orange turbans on, and they got like the thing hanging down with the daggers too, or there's a sword as well.
If you check some of those swords and weapons through history, they had some dirty, amazing swords.
That's the kind of religion you can get behind, a religion where like part of the religious wear is a giant sword. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to say shit to you. Walk along with that. And you can get tattoos and stuff and drink and all that too.
You can't eat beef though.
You know, eat beef. You can't cut your hair either if you're a dude.
The beef is sacred. Wait, no, that's Hinduism. What am I about? Fucking, no, that's beef, that's Hinduism, isn't it?
Isn't that the same thing?
No,
it's not. See, I get confused too, and I like it all. I don't know, you have an interest in some of it too.
Some of it's interesting. I think some of the gods are no, do you know what?
Yeah,
I
the
think
mythology.
it's just, they're both religions, obviously. I'm mistaken, yeah. Once again, I apologise to my RE teacher for getting so much of everything you taught me. I didn't have that much of an interest in it, other than like the gods and their cool names and that.
Yeah, I didn't back then either.
I was all, to be honest, the only reason I wanted to do history was World War I and II, the ancient Romans, the ancient Greeks, and all their gods and lore and stuff, and some of the ancient tribes, like, riding all this.
Yeah,
the
ancient
Victorian side. Oh my god.
What?
The Victorian, they talk about the
Yeah,
Victorian.
I'm not into that. Like the ancient civilizations are what you like.
That's what I was interested in.
Yeah, and I have got a lot more interested in World War One and Two since when I was in school. I didn't give a shit about them. I like them a lot more now, like learning about it all because there's so much to it as well. Some of the crazy stories you told me, like that dead man one.
Oh, the Russians, man.
That was a crazy story.
Pretty much gassed and got back up. That story is a real good one.
What was that again? Remind me of that story.
Just if you look up Attack of the Dead Men, you'll find it. It's also a very good song by Pound for that as well.
Oh, Sabaton.
Yes.
Yeah. I've started watching a new program, and it's like, it's based around like World War II stuff. It's I don't know what it's called, the man in the High Castle. I think it's called. I might be slightly off with that name, something like that.
Very potion, the man in the High Castle.
Oh, I think no. I used to think the man in the High Castle was Hitler, but I don't think it is. It's about 1960s America, but if the Japanese and the Nazis won the war.
Good lord.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
I love the Japanese these days, but there were some ruthless bastards in the war.
Oh yeah, man.
Full marks for their history and culture and what they do these days and all the crazy shit they do.
They do a lot of shit technology-wise.
They were brutal. They were so horrid.
Yeah.
I don't think the Germans are pretty much as bad as swimming.
Well, the Nazis were all kind of great. You know what? I was about to talk about that, but I can't talk about that now because it's just made me think about that other fucking thing. So you fucking mentioned apparently China have gone to war with America. I need to fucking check this.
They declared war, I swear to God.
How the fuck have they... If this is actually true, I'm going to try and check again in a minute, like on my phone while we're talking.
But this the times?
Huh?
It could be the end of times. I honestly think, hopefully they'll just be like, you got nukes? Yeah. We got nukes? Yeah.
I'd say that's it,
Shall we just call it a day so no one dies? Yeah, call it.
If this is actually true though, how have I gone? It's like, what, 10 o'clock now or probably something like that, or 9:30. 10 to 10. How have I gone the whole day with not knowing though that China have gone to... it can't be true, I don't believe it. China have not gone to war with America.
You just literally get that little doodad phone out of yours and you search that up.
The little doodad phone.
You do that.
The certainly, so imagine that is certainly, yeah.
I just literally type in China declares war 2021.
It's fucking crazy, it's so... I don't imagine it would go very far, I don't know.
The problem is, it depends how driven China are or how violently America retaliates. The only downside is...
Good job Trump ain't there, isn't it? So he would just demolish it.
Let's be fair, all the stuff he's done, I reckon he'd probably be able to defuse the situation. I mean...
Maybe.
I ain't a Trump supporter. Quite frankly, I think the man was an absolute twonk. But the shit he did... I mean, I can't say we've had a decent Prime Minister since Winston, really, and even he was a git. So, no, you found anything yet? Is it all coming up?
No, it's just talking about US and China enter dangerous territory over Taiwan. It's talking about China increasing its military pressure on Taiwan. Is it going to war with Taiwan?
No, they're pretty much flying out, invading them, I think.
I'm not even completely sure where Taiwan is. I know it's like Asia, like... What?
It's near China.
Oh. They're just trying to take more places again.
They're expanding. Chinese expansion. I mean, they haven't tried that since the Vietnam days.
That's what he's talking about. China's great military might has... Well, what a great way for the New York Times to word this. China's growing military might has for the first time... might has for the first time made the conquest of Taiwan conceivable, perhaps even tempting. Tony's helicopters. So it looks like they're trying to take over Taiwan, and maybe the US are going...
Taiwan and said dibs.
Yeah, basically. I don't know what... Oh, so, okay. When it looks at it, yeah, US are like, no, you're being dicks, stop it. And China were like, no, we're taking it.
It's ours. The biggest question, why is America getting involved with it?
Because, America always do the same thing. Yeah, that's what it looks like more. So yeah, it kind of is though. It's not quite so much like we're declaring war on you.
Well, that's why some of the articles put it. Isn't it?
I can imagine why in that case though, because when Sainsbury, yeah, it's like America are like, because America kind of like take care of everywhere, don't they? Bunny ears
Like they stick
for the
their
non-audio.
nose in everywhere. There's a difference.
Huh?
They stick their nose in. There's a difference.
Yeah, hence the bunny ears when I did that.
Quotation marks.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, that's weird though. So China are trying to take over Taiwan, take it back. They're dibs in it. Dibs in it. And America are like, no, you can't dibs. So we already called dibs. And they're like, no, we're taking it. You can't tell us what to do. So now they're at this thing where they're like,
basically trying to turn around and go, well, if you said dibs in the forest and no one's around to hear it, would you have said dibs? What? It's ours now.
if you say dibs in the forest and no one's there to hear it, did I actually murder you? That's where it's going.
Good Lord. After Chinese son.
Took a time. I mean, yeah, so it could turn into a legit fight between China and America. China ain't got a chance.
What do you mean China don't have a chance, man?
I don't know. I'm just...
They have the technology. They'll build themselves a Death Star.
They don't
I swear
have...
to God.
They're not particularly known for their technology. Like, they're not Japan.
They make our phones. They make our everything.
Yeah, but phones are... Yeah, you can put the little bits together and do all the stuff for actually making like...
You never know. They could press like some kind of button and all of our phones are going to turn into a miniature transformer and murder us, but...
I don't think most of our phones are made in China.
No, there's got to be a circuit board assembled in China.
This is probably something though. Either way,
Guarantee some part of it, or if not most of it, is made in China.
yeah, I suppose it's kind of a moot point for us anyway, though, talking in England about it, because our whole 5G is run by China now, by Huawei.
And we love them.
We love our overlords.
Please don't pronounce Mr. Ying. I wish to live.
Mr. Ying.
I don't know. I guess. It's terrible as that really sounds.
It sounds like it's in no way the worst Chinese name you could have come up with.
Possibly. I mean, quite frankly.
Right,
I suppose I should have used like
Chan.
the no names like, sure,
Mr. Chan.
Good old Jackie.
Mr. Wing Chan. Or Lee.
I should have used Wang.
Wang.
I see, yeah.
Isn't that more Japanese?
No, it's Chinese.
I don't know. Yeah.
Because
people say you should know all the differences between them all now, like especially
right.
Japanese and Chinese. But it's really hard when it comes to the words, which ones are which.
I know that obviously Chinese use a lot of like sounds and stuff like that. Like zhao and
Shot.
stuff like that. Wang and they have like fair compound letters almost.
I'm thinking of Tekken, because Tekken's Japanese, isn't it? But then again, they have a lot
over
of...
the world though.
Yeah, they have Chinese people. I think the person I'm thinking of is Korean as well.
I don't know. You ever played any like the Dynasty Warrior games? I was entirely in China.
I used to have a debate about how to actually pronounce. I used to call them Dynasty Warriors. Dynasty, now being older, makes more sense.
I call it Dynasty. That's how it's pronounced in my house. It's probably pronounced different house.
I think it is called a Dynasty or Dynasty. I don't know still. But yeah, I did play it.
Well, you go anywhere, man. Everyone pronounces it differently. Like, the Americans pronounce mirror with no R in it. It's mirror.
Mirror. Do they? Do they?
Do you have a mirror?
How would you pronounce mirror with no... Mirror?
You look up a good old Yank saying
Good old
mirror.
Yank.
I mean, they take the piss. They have the nerve to take the piss.
Oh, and nothing wrong with taking the piss out of them. Go ham.
But we wrote your language.
And they're white as well, so we can't be deemed racist for it too. So it's a good one to go
We're
for.
talking about America as a whole.
Mer.
All of them.
America.
Love the old America.
Isn't it weird how there's a lot more Americans, all these states, but thinking about it now, their accents aren't as noticeably different as ours are over here.
No, they are.
Yeah, what'd you say?
No, I mean, they're not as diverse as we are. Like,
some of them, like the odd
they're not as disgusting
Texan.
as some of ours are.
Yeah, some of ours are terrible, considering we're such a tiny island.
There's one that has actual lip like a rasp in it, like, what the fuck? What was that? Different party, right?
What?
Taking the piss. From Liverpool,
I'm from Liverpool, I am.
What's that from Liverpool?
I don't know.
You sound Welsh.
I don't... It might be, I'm terrible at accents,
I'm pretty sure it's a Welsh accent.
I might be. I could try other ones too. But once again, it's another thing we have to be careful what we're trying to do, because apparently it's racist. I don't know if it is.
Can English people...
It's not racist, but people conceive it to be.
Taking the piss out of someone's accent? Oh,
Yeah, I can do a good Chinese, like,
Don't.
see? See what I'm saying? deemed as problematic still. It shouldn't be. I'm just trying to do an accent.
I can only imagine how bad yours would sound. You won't like attempt to talk in any kind of English manner. I guarantee there will be.
I'm not quite sure whether it's Japanese or Chinese, so I guess that instantly makes it a bit more problematic.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I've heard Asian people say they can't tell us apart. So,
In all fairness, yeah.
It's like, oh, you white people, you look the same. Like, oh, well, fuck.
But that's the thing.
I never expected you to ever say that to me. That's fair.
If you have a lot of people that have like the same hair, the same, the same kind of style of hair, the same facial hair, whatever, all looking the same kind of way, it's getting to be hard to tell them apart. Like when you're thinking about watching a program,
You get a massive group of anyone together.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're watching a program, and if there's a lot of people that look the same, it really pisses me off in programs when there's a few people that look the same. I get confused who's who. In any kind of, people, any ethnicity and all that. It happens a lot with white people, to be fair, because it's TV. There's a lot more of them normally.
I always hate
To be fair.
I always hate it when you find someone who looks just similar enough to your mate to call out to them.
Oh yeah.
It's like, is that Fred? He looks like Fred. Is that Fred? Fred! Oh, that's not Fred. Oh.
Wait, you call out to... Wait, I thought you were on about seeing someone on the TV that looks like someone you know.
No.
And you're calling out to them.
Oh,
Can you hear me in there? Little magic man in the box.
To be fair, maybe when I'm 80, he's like, that looks like Fred. He's been dead for 5 years. Fred!
Getting super high with an old man just screaming at the TV. That sounds amazing, though.
I'd probably lose me marbles at that point. I'm just literally like screaming Fred at a telly, and old people saying.
I'd be fine with that as an old man, being an old man just screaming at the TV. Or just high as had anything just screaming at the TV. That's how I would want to end out my days.
I don't know, I mean, obviously.
If I knew I was going to be dead in like a few months or something, I'd take heroin. What the hell not? If I was an old man with nothing else to do. Don't know how I'd get it at that point. You
probably wouldn't even be interested at that point. It probably would kill you, to be fair.
Yeah, well, if I'm going to be going in a few months anyway, I'm like 80 or something, get it on.
Rather not.
There has to be some kind of Uber Eats app for it.
An Uber Eats app for heroin.
It's something like it, yeah.
But you didn't call that,
Heroin a jiffy. There you go. Heroin a jiffy. There we go.
No.
Oh, freaking genius, guys.
Genius,
you heard it here.
It wouldn't get to you there, man. You crackhead delivery driver would probably shoot up and pass out somewhere, so...
How they don't go dip on their own supply? No dealer dips on their own supply if they're smart, do they? Like any stoner dealer?
Are they really that smart?
Well, maybe they're not taking it. Maybe that's why they're the dealer, I mean.
They'd be smart to do that.
They'd be smarter, yeah.
Oh,
I think anyone taking the heroin is smart. Anyone being around it is smart. But
Santa heroin's a stupid thing, man. They're crazy. They're crazy for that crack.
They love their crack. They do love their crack. Like I said, there's many crackheads around here. Like I said before, I didn't know about the crackhead up there because normally you can tell a crackhead, but the one up there I just couldn't tell he was a crackhead.
You see, you're making it sound like we're going to suffer Night of the Living crackhead in here. Like they're just going to start pouring through the windows and change crack.
If it's something public has ever happened, it probably would happen from bad crack. It probably would. Like, really probably would.
So instead of saying like brains or anything like the really cheap
It's crack. Well, no. Well, then again, would it be that?
Would they eat you? Being crackhead or something, would they actually eat you, or would they just fleece you? It's like change.
Well, that's it's whether they're really like that because they high more often they want more crack, or is it because it's a never-ending high and they just cracked out their mind, so they start pulling you apart in their head you're a Twinkie bar or something.
Now you're making it kind of sound like they're on crack, the shufflers and the old
like shufflers,
like films, but then when the crack wears off, they turn into 28 days later. Kind of
should the crack wear off? I don't think it should ever wear off because otherwise they'd be a bit human again then. The crackheads when they're cracked out, they're cracked out.
Crackheads like that.
At a different level.
They're even just as fucking balmy as.
Yeah, but then they want money so they can buy more crack.
Exactly. They chase you. Imagine a horde of these things. When they're cracked out, they're slow, so it's like a kind of day and night cycle.
But then they've still got to keep it together to go and buy it from somewhere, though. I can't imagine the zombies from 28 days later just walking up to a car.
To be fair, if there was like 20 of the bloody things running away in different directions in order to obtain their rock, you wouldn't follow them now, would you? So we wouldn't know where it'd be coming from. We don't know.
Well, and I suppose some of the strongest ones might have hoarded a load of it, and that's how they're getting it. But wouldn't they just keep? I can't see the system. I can't see the system.
Was there ever a hierarchy in the zombie films? Because I don't remember what was it.
Well, no, exactly. But maybe that's the thing. Maybe they're super cracked out, and the only way they can get high again is by eating people, because people are the best kind of high. There you go.
The best kind of munchie.
Yeah. No, not munchie. So they can eat us and get high from us.
Moorish, you know.
Maybe they're sucking out the adrenal gland. Getting high.
That one specifically.
Maybe.
I suppose they could always find a way to suck out your DMT or something like that.
Yeah.
Dream drug that goes on
Yeah.
in your brain.
I know what DMT is.
But then again, hundreds of crackheads running around with metal straws.
I wouldn't need them. They revolve, like they would pop out some kind of mosquito mouth thing.
Terrifying.
That would be. That would make the most sense though, if they're going to revolve.
But they also smoke the crack through it as well.
I suppose they'd have to, wouldn't they? I think they'd get to a point, that's what I'm saying, though, where they can suck out the stuff from you. Like, you take their first create a crack, and then any time, for some reason, that they, this special crack, after that, any time they eat, suck out adrenal gland from a person, it also becomes crack in their body, it just mutates it, and they just know this for some reason. They just know if they suck on this specific part.
Mutation into a crackhead, they instantly know.
That initial crackhead, yeah, from this messed up crack.
It will somehow convert into crack cocaine into my body.
Yeah. From Z-crack, zombie crack.
You're getting too much into the physiology of this.
Crack cocaine for zombies. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good name, but there's got to be a good name for it, though, because it's some kind of zombie crack. It would be green and sparkly, like buggers, but crystal buggers. That's what it would look like. I think that's what heroin looks like, isn't it? It's like a rock. That's crack. Was that the same thing?
Crack's usually like a round rock.
Is heroin the same kind of thing, or is that dust?
Usually a powder, isn't it?
Is that powder?
You can obviously melt it. I don't know. You melt it and then put it in a needle and do stupid things with it.
You have to burn it in a spoon, don't you?
Well, that's how some of the ghetto ones would probably do it, yeah.
That's a what?
That's the ghetto ones would probably do it, yeah.
I don't know. What do you know? What would the newfangled heroin addicts do then? The new kids on the block, what would they do?
Let me tell you about my experience.
Before they OD, what would they do?
I hope they just do that. It'd be easier.
What, just a spoon?
Just take that up. Go ahead.
Well, they just suck it. Oh, they just crush it up and just lick it up. Put it in the cornflakes.
I can snort it, at least that way with quick form. To die, that is.
Oh, yeah.
Just do yourself a favour. Either sort yourself out, change, or just...
I can't imagine taking heroin. I don't know what it's like, so I can't imagine it. The craziest stuff I had is that, I don't know, like the most wasted I've been was like that when I had that bad trip at download on the MD, which I'm turning into a story to tell on stage. I'm looking forward to that. I say turn into a story, I'm just actually telling it on stage because there's no turning it into a story, it's just me.
It was a bit of a tale.
It was a tale. And apparently when I'm high on stuff, I get wasted in regards to being an idiot. I lose all the few brain cells I do have, getting super happy, figuring out how to lift my arm to show an arm, a wristband. Not figuring out which way is which. It's a whole thing, as you know.
That's why they tell you to stay off drugs.
Well, stay off drugs. I mean, just do it smartly. Do it smartly is all you need to do. I forgot that when I was at download for 5 days that, you know, they always talk about whatever you do at festivals or that kind of stuff. You just kind of stay there. Yeah, it happens there, you know.
The trauma doesn't.
You forget that you have to still take care of yourself.
The trauma
and things don't just disappear. Yeah.
Let's face it, it may stay at the festival. No one openly talks about it away from the festival, but it doesn't change the fact that whatever horrible thing happens. So the trauma is real.
And you still have to look at, like, you can't just take drugs for 4 days and expect it not to catch up on you in those 4 days. It's not a magic pill just because you're at a festival or something is what I'm saying. It was a good 4 days though. It was a bad 5th day, but it was a good 4 days. A good 3 and 7/8 of a day.
Well, to be fair, I mean, you do drink a lot of festivals, so
that's one thing I'm looking forward to doing. I want to try and go to a festival next year.
Things become a bit more normal in the world.
It's getting there now. Well, in the world, but here at least. In the world as well, still really.
Most of the world would be nice once we wait for it to get back to normal. I'm sure it'll take a year or two most.
Yeah.
Says.
America's already opened up in there.
Well, yeah, open up to war.
What? Oh, yeah. I don't see that China. You have to think that China thing's gonna, like... I mean, I suppose it's one of them. If they want Taiwan and America's like, you can't just take it.
Fake deeps did.
Something's got to go either way. It's either going to be China give it up again, or America give it up, or they go to have a
We asked
war.
Putin to mediate, and he's just going to go through and go,
Yeah.
yet. Oh,
gonna-
Putin said no.
It's going to be a fair
Putin.
mediation.
Said no.
If they fully went to war, though, I could just imagine like a lot of countries.
Can we
just
change our representative though? Because we can't send Boris. We can't send that fucking troll doll. Hell
But you
no.
know they would.
Or to be fair, it would be hilarious to see him like fucking
Biden,
bomb his
Boris,
way around.
Putin, and whoever's in charge of China.
I don't actually know the guy's name actually.
It looks like Winnie the Pooh.
The
I know that.
communist, it doesn't matter. Only Putin's cool.
It looks
Russia's
like,
fine.
looks like Winnie the Pooh. He's back in China. That's all I know.
Does he?
Yeah,
I
no,
thought
he's
that was
banned.
from You look like a fucking a caricature. You find like a comic book or some sort.
Who what?
Mr. Un.
Oh, him, the North Korea, the one who's the old one, or the one who's there now.
Does he have a son yet? He's supposed to change his. They always had a son by now.
The younger one did.
No, I was asking, had he?
I don't know.
He's getting on a bit. He's got that personal female army apparently. So
He's not getting on a bit now. The younger one, Kim Jong
Got to
Un.
be like his 30s, 40s now, isn't he?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, 34
It's
years.
about time he,
Oh, did he had a kid?
he popped one.
Oh, okay, got ya. Yeah.
He has a whole like harem army. Why don't you just use them?
To be fair, yeah, you imagine it'd be pretty easy for him to have a kid. He's got like, he's got like a whole country.
Wait,
Maybe shooting blanks?
You know how he's always, he's always got bodyguards with him.
Yeah,
Do you reckon he'd be in the room with him while he's doing the nasty?
probably. If it's all females, though, it wouldn't be as bad. Maybe that's why he created a female army. So
Maybe
that
that's why.
if there's got to be people in there watching him have sex, at least they're women. I could get behind that thinking.
I feel sorry for them.
I can get behind that thinking, though.
What a sight.
I bet there's some of the better off people in that fucking country, though.
I highly doubt it.
Probably not, yeah. There's not many people well off in that country, full stop. They just think the whole world's like that.
No one's well off.
I don't know why they just don't leave. Well, they're allowed to leave South Korea, aren't they?
No.
They're just not allowed to. No, not from North Korea. I know North Korea won't let them.
They can enter, if they escape, they can enter South Korea and they'll be welcome with open arms. Because
South Korea will let them in then,
South
yeah.
Korea are some fantastic people.
But they've got to get there. It's a long way to get there. There's a lot of...
Several have got out and they have horror.
Oh, yeah,
stories
yeah.
to tell.
I've heard people getting out. You can go in.
It's done. You can go on a structured tour.
Yeah, yeah. It takes a while to be allowed to get there. Like,
There's
you
a
know,
lot
it's
of
not quick.
paperwork. No. It's a lot of paperwork, and you've got to fly down to China, and I think from there you've got to get a train in, like an overnight train in or something like that.
From China rather than...
Oh,
It's
yeah.
funny rather than...
Did they have an airport? I can't remember.
I mean, they've got plenty of grass, so they could probably put...
They must have an airfield.
They've got some kind of like military stuff, haven't they? Or they like to think they have. So they've probably got at least a runway anyway, but if not an airport.
I hope they haven't got a commercial jet like that. Jesus Christ, could you imagine that thing in probably a bucket of bolts?
Oh, what? Is that like a big plane, basically, you mean?
Like a jumbo jet?
Yeah, yeah,
People
yeah.
carry one. I mean,
Probably.
it must fucking jitter. Welcome.
That'd be amazing. Like,
You can only take photos of what they tell you can take.
yeah. It would be kind of crazy to go there and experience it. I'd love to I was just thinking about it. It would be really fun to go and
Just
actually
keep your
go
opinion
around.
to yourself.
Keep it to myself, yeah, until you get back and then write it all down.
Yeah, you can talk about it once you got back, but don't take any photos outside. And
I wouldn't even want to take notes
I
because
wouldn't even
even
take a flipping camera with me.
No,
I
no.
want to see it.
yeah, you'd have to just go and experience it and then talk about it after.
I'd take even like an old cell phone just so I didn't have a camera on my phone. So I was like, no, old cell phone.
I saw on that Dark Side of the Ring documentary program when they're talking about different things that happened in wrestling, but like the dark stuff, obviously. The one time they were talking about when they went to North Korea for a show. They went to North Korea for like the biggest wrestling show ever. WCW put it on, and it was like Ric Flair and Inoko or whatever his name was, one of the famous Japanese wrestler people.
I remember the jury. It was what I liked.
I don't know, it was like 80s or something. Antonio Inoki or something like that. That was Muhammad Ali as well, was there too. Yeah, he was another big part of it. And I went over there, did a whole show, but then some people got in trouble while I was over there and got held captive for a bit. Vader got held. Remember Vader?
Oh, that wasn't the big black guy?
No.
Well, that was Viscera.
That was Viscera, yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
no, Vader.
Vader was like, he was a big, huge white dude, and he had like a red kind of mask on at the time. He was just a big, burly guy. He was like beastie, man. Have you ever seen there's a video where Undertaker sat next to someone else and there's an interviewer asking him questions. It's in Kuwait, I think it was, this particular video I'm talking about. And he says something about wrestling being fake, like the first question, and Undertaker's just sitting there, like, looking all, like...
menacing.
Looking menacing, but also looking super chilled as well. And Vader gets really pissed off, and he gets up and starts like grabbing his tie, like, this feels fake, this feels fake. Like, probably like, I can't remember if he slapped him or something. I don't think he did in that particular thing, he was just grabbing him by the tie and that. And that way he flipped the table and stuff, and he got in trouble again, Vader did for that. And Undertaker the whole time, and he was just sat there, like, just chilling, sitting back.
Please don't.
I also watched another episode of that program about one last night. This guy called Johnny K9. He was an old jobber kind of wrestler, used to get beaten all the time, but he was also the president of a motorcycle gang. He was like the most lovely guy ever, apparently, to people, but at the same time was also an enforcer for like some mafia family people as well. And
absolutely bubbled until he had to go on a job.
yeah, he was just a big burly dude. But yeah.
I suppose even the nicest people can do horrible shit if they have to.
There's another one, a deathmatch wrestler, guy who almost like killed David Arquette in the ring, if you remember David Arquette.
No.
You know David Arquette, he was an old actor. I say old, he's not that old.
What was he?
He was in loads. He was in Scream. He was in Eight-Legged Freaks. He was in Ready to Rumble.
The main character in Eight-Legged Freaks? Or?
Yeah. Main dude.
I think I know.
Yeah, the funny man. He was in wrestling for a bit, like in the 90s for WCW, because they did a Ready to Rumble film with all the WCW people in it, and he was the main guy to do it for a bit. So when WCW was going crazy, they put the title on him for reasons. And he came back into the independent season recently and then got stabbed in the neck during this death match anyway. He was okay.
Specifically stabbed in the neck.
Huh?
Specifically stabbed in the neck.
Specifically stabbed in the neck because he was doing this stuff and doing some other thing, and he was like, just don't be moving around. Like, but he was digging into and cutting it, but because he tried to move and get out of the way or something to do with, he did something that he shouldn't have done because he was a bit scared basically, and ended up getting jabbed in the neck more, and he had to like do doing that for the last bit. The guy's crazy. He's been to like jail a couple of times. He died outside the ring as well from bleeding too much. They had like a death match in some random field somewhere, and he got fucked up in it, bleeding too much, and they had to call an ambulance, but the ambulance couldn't get to him, so they had to send a helicopter down, and he died while on the way. And he always came to the ring wearing like a bandana over his head and a hat, and also a bandana over his nose and mouth, so you could only see his eyes. He was all like masked up like a gangster. But the one time he didn't do that was the one time he actually robbed a bank legitimately, robbed a bank, and did it without a mask on or anything, just walked in and did it.
Not very smart criminal.
No, not very smart at all. Not very smart. That's why I went to jail a few times.
Explains why he almost died.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't die completely. He's an idiot, to be fair.
Really?
He was a complete idiot, yeah.
Sure.
Not really, he's an idiot.
Yeah, we could have lost him.
He seemed really into Strictly Come Dancing before we came down here.
Oh, that program's absurd. That fucking program isn't like that. It's so politically swayed. It's so much.
Yeah.
So bullshit. And people just eat that shit up with a spoon. Like,
yeah, it's super popular. It's been going for so long. Like you said, I mean, it's initially, I don't really get why it's so entertaining in general, watching people dance. I don't really get it that much. I kind of get it, but...
Flair, maybe?
Yeah.
The overly sensational flair and music and these self-important judges who just dole out numbers based on,
They have an Amigo.
told to do out.
They have an Amigo version too, like Dancing with the Stars. There's a wrestler in it right now.
Why would you only know that? I don't think you watch it.
I don't watch Strictly Come Dancing particularly. I watch some of that kind of stuff. Not Strictly Come Dancing. Like you said, it's too political and it's just too... it's a lot of the time.
I reckon the gay couple win simply because of political reasons. Not that they don't deserve to. I mean, don't get me wrong.
No, there's been quite a few times.
Show, but I honestly believe it's politically swayed.
There's been plenty of years when there's been like a gay couple in this and they haven't won. So not necessarily just because they are that that's going to win. But I just, like I was saying to you in there, I never understood with Strictly Come Dancing and that why the gay people have to dance with the people of their own gender. I just don't get it. It makes no sense. Literally, unless you can have a chance of fucking them, they don't care. You have to have a chance of being able to fuck the person you're dancing with. That's all dancing is based around, apparently.
You want to dance with a woman or dance with a man? I suppose if you're gay, you want to dance with a gentleman.
But why? That's what I'm saying. Why specifically does it have to change? Just because they like banging the guy? Why do they then have to dance with the guy? You can only dance with people you want to bang, apparently. That's such a strange concept.
Think of it this way: would you rather dance with another bloke or dance with a woman?
Yeah, I'd rather dance with a woman, but still, the concept is though, like, you have to be dancing with someone you could feasibly fuck. Feasibly, that's just how it has to be. If there's a guy on there that only likes guys, he has to dance with someone that he feasibly could fuck.
If they had a lesbian on there, they'd also have another lesbian dancing with that, would it just be another woman in general?
Yeah, I had a woman on there before, a lesbian woman on there before, and she was dancing with a lady. Because that was the only person she feasibly could fuck.
Are you sure it's just not more like kind of...
What?
Maybe it could be like a narrative. You know, that could be the reason behind it.
Whatever the reason is, it doesn't change the fact that you can only dance with someone that you feasibly will have a chance of fucking it during it. Keep going, let's put this on charge. Yeah, I'm sure they're not going to openly say that's why that's there. Well, but I don't understand the logic.
Do they get a choice with their partner?
I don't know. I don't know. I imagine they
Or
would.
maybe it's a part of the whole kind of new age inclusion where it's like, right, we have to emphasise that this person is this.
Political correctness, though, is so strange, because that's what I'm saying, is like, so at the same time, you've got to accept, like, that there's no genders, but then stuff like this comes around, and it's like, there's no genders, but the gay guy has to specifically dance with the gender that he could fuck, but there's no genders. But at the same time, genders don't matter for trans people, but they do matter if you misgender someone. None of it makes sense.
You seem to get into a debate regarding political correctness based on strictly from dancing.
I wouldn't say I'm getting into a debate, because I'm pretty sure a lot of our opinions would go in the same kind of area, in the sense of none of this makes sense, and neither of us are saying it does make sense. But I don't know, do you think it makes sense? Any of political correctness? It's all convoluted as fuck.
There's a fine line of being correct and being politically incorrect.
There is a very fine line between it, yeah.
People just cross it so many times. I mean,
you mean when you say something really offensive?
Trying to be too over cautious can be seen more offensive at the same time. Like, we shouldn't say that because he's that. And you're like, but he didn't have a problem. But
yeah.
You're crossing a boundary. You're getting offended on someone else's behalf. It's like,
you're talking about being like a white knight or something. It doesn't specifically mean a white person. It's just a name for the white knight. It's not a racial thing. Yeah, it has become more of a racial concept now, but it's not where that comes from, at least.
So calm down. Let the poor gentleman speak for himself. If he wants to say something, let him say it. Don't say it on his behalf.
Yeah, and just to assume that someone's offended. And a lot of time,
oh my god, I can't believe you said that.
I've just said doing jokes on stage, as I said to you before. It's never the person that should be offended that gets offended. It's always someone else saying it on their behalf. Apparently, it's like when you ask the few times when you've asked the person in that situation. For me, it's always been like, well, no. But then would they say if they were offended? But then they're probably not offended the rest of the time, because most of it's not an offendable thing. It doesn't really happen that much. So, if I say political correctness and cancel culture is a bit more made up than you think it is.
It's just one of those ones you give people a platform to voice their opinion, where other people can give it movement, and anyone can basically say something and create movement themselves. I mean, the world was a worse off place when it comes to this kind of political correctness years ago, where there was none. Let's face it.
Oh yeah. No political correctness is really bad.
We got away from that, but we were at a stage previously where everything was fine. It wasn't too bad. I noticed. I mean, don't get me wrong, we still saw Tom and Jerry cartoons in the early 90s.
But that kind of stuff's okay though. You make a really good point though, because there was a time when there wasn't enough political correctness. Because just watching something, I can't remember what it was, but there was a few things I watched back from the 90s, and even them watching them, they were talking about stuff in certain ways, like gay people and that, and it was like, okay, that's a bit calm down. How you talking about that? You know, like you're making it out like it's a terrible thing. Like chill.
Well, to be fair, I mean,
Back then it was
more taboo, wasn't it?
Back then, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like no political correctness isn't the right way to go at all.
Definitely not. No.
Yeah. So now I'm with you there.
I think the 90s had it right. There wasn't anything
Well,
too
no.
bad. There was still bad bits.
Early 2000s were better.
It got better in 2000s. Now it's just gone too full circle. You can't even laugh at anything anymore.
Oh,
Taking life too seriously.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want life to be a checklist in a prison sentence from the get-go, or do you want to actually enjoy it? When China come in invade, we're not going to have the
Yeah. No, in China, fuck yeah, we're all just going to be taken to our concentration camps 2.0.
Korea, you wouldn't be able to laugh at jack shit.
No.
Would you want that for the rest of the world? If you're going to keep cancelling everything, we may as well just become Korea.
Luckily, it's more this smaller majority doing it. The more, honestly, I don't think it's real. It's only real. It's real in the sense that there's a small group of people that try to push it, push that kind of narrative or push that idea that everyone's offended on behalf of other people, like we're saying. But when you're doing it online, it's hard to tell, ain't it? Yeah, it's just. I see it as kind of a compliment whenever people give a shit about what you're saying to get pissy about it. So, I mean, there's enough people listening.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, this 15%, there's always going to be like 15% of people listening to something that's going to be annoyed by it. So the more and more people you've got listening to it that are annoyed by it, it's like, well, technically there should be more people listening that aren't annoyed that I'm just not hearing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we don't want the ratio of annoyed and not annoyed to kind of tip heavy in the favour of annoyed people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, my personally, I love it, seeing how people get, annoyed or just not even laughing at your stuff, not getting it, or being too highbrow to laugh at it. Whatever manner it comes in, I kind of enjoy it personally. But that's seeing it in person, it's just been online.
I don't laugh about a lot of things, especially what you say.
Right, yeah. And that's just because you have no happiness in your soul. What?
It got drained out of me a lot.
Oh. Is that part of the gothic initiation thing? You have to have your soul drained of happiness.
I'd like to think when I was a teenager I was very happy.
You were a happy goth, but that's why he's saying, that piece of shit is a really nice, acceptable smelling piece of shit. It's acceptable for a piece of shit, but it's still a piece of shit.
Well, it could have been worse.
It could have been worse. It could have been a exceptionally bad smelling diarrhea-riddled piece of shit with onions in it. What?
Could look like you.
I'd still prefer to look like me and not smell like a piece of shit and... Well, to smell like a piece of shit. Even a nice smelling piece of shit.
I see what you're doing.
I'm glad you...
enjoy the fact that you're trying to use this sort of analogy. But you're a vindictive piece of shit yourself. So
I'm really glad you knew what I was doing there, because I didn't. I was just winging it.
Tangent to the point where it's like, what am I talking about now? Please stop me.
I don't think it can be considered a tangent when I'm literally just saying things and they're just coming out one after another. This is what I do on stage.
You can literally sit here and dig yourself a big hole, but I'll start to that before I put you in it.
Oh, there you go. At least if I dig my own hole, then you don't have to go through the effort of doing it before you bury me. Yeah. You're already talking about the different people you buried today, so. Hey, yeah. Well, no, you didn't yet, because this has been recorded and we don't want evidence to be used against you. Unless, of course, I disappear after this podcast, then please use as evidence. It was him. He killed me. He murdered me. Because I stabbed you in the neck. And then I kicked you in the neck. I did a lot to your neck. I'll send you to heck. That means hell. It's like the film The Fly. I really like that film.
Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah.
Yes, fantastic film. Shit ending, but good film.
I can't remember the ending particularly. I can't? What was the ending?
No, he went back into his teleporting machine and basically got fused with what became pretty much a human fly, got fused with metal and pretty much his brain's blown out.
Oh, did he get mushed into something else?
He got kicked into the teleporter with the door or something. It got fused to him.
Yeah.
And then he just pretty much crawled over and begged to die. So
I always did like that film though.
So to be actually decide definitively who won in our precursor battle?
We did not, you know. We really did not. It felt like it was leaning more towards the Crow, but I was still finding it hard to get over the fact of whether Jesus would keep coming back though over and over, because he said he doesn't.
Was it his father's ability to respawn, or was it technically his? Because it just said he rose. It doesn't say who rezzed him.
Yeah,
he got rezzed.
And whether him and God are one and the same people as well. It's hard to.
We're using,
what are the limitations of
Jesus as a man? You know,
he's come down to
not
earth.
as a holy symbol, not a prophet. Well, new prophet, but not. He hasn't ascended to heaven yet. He just respawned.
Yeah.
So he hasn't become one with the beardie in the sky.
And maybe he was just alive the whole time and just recuperated. We don't know. He might have just been a bit tired.
I mean, the question is, would he have the other prophets on his side as well? But, you know, we can talk like.
I think he would have like a load of people like backing him up. He would have a good amount of people back. Oh, not them prophets. No. We're talking about real life here, Dominic.
Nanak, you know, he had a sword. He was a badass. He's like Gandhi. Well, Gandhi's not really a religious item.
Gandhi's not. He's just like Jesus, is he?
When you think of Jesus, you think of peace. When you think of peace, you think of Gandhi.
I don't.
He's not so much of a nice guy, but we shan't go there.
He wouldn't have all them. They're characters,
It's singular.
But he might have all his like cardinals and his priests and all that backing him up, because there is like grunts, aren't they, essentially?
Jesus is not some kind of vicious overlord. It's like, get him, man.
It doesn't have to be, but he can be. If he has to have a fight...
I can't imagine Jesus sicking the Pokemon to the car.
You say that, but his second coming is he's going to be coming back to fight this war against the devil. So in this scenario, the Crow is the devil, essentially. Coming back for his second coming to go against them all.
So basically...
But I reckon the Crow would murk off all the other guys. It's just a case of whether he has the energy and the bullets.
Fire him to death with the mind rape.
There you go.
Like all the horrid images to him.
Feel how you made those boys feel.
Good lord. That's like an image he'd kill all the Catholics with.
That's what I'm saying.
Lord.
They're all on the same boat as Jesus.
Then they wouldn't go to heaven anyway, then, if that's the case. Obviously.
We're not to debate what. Yeah, but you know, like this is what they do, though. Why they do it and where they expect they're going to go afterwards. God knows, maybe there's a loophole in the Bible.
It's a bit dark and the light-hearted. Who would win? It's kind of like it's going to go crooked now.
Well, we've got to break it down and figure out, like we said, the skill set of each of them. You know, like, and it's hard to break down Jesus without talking about that, because you've got to talk about his grunts and then you've got to talk about.
Well, Jesus would be a champion water skier, but that's not the point.
He would be. Okay, so the priests and all that are going to be a non-point and all that, basically, anyway. So it's going to come down to the Crow, maybe a bit tired, a bit depleted of energy, but stamina's a bit drained by the time it gets to Jesus, but not too drained.
Just like, the question is, are they armed or are they unarmed? You know,
who?
Both of them. You know,
Jesus could be.
Or is it literally talking fist fight here?
Well, I mean, what power? Jesus has the power of magic, for start. He's got to have some level of magic.
He never had an offensive style magic, though. He was always defensive.
Just because he didn't have it, just because he didn't do it, doesn't mean he can't. You know.
Yeah, well, the Crow could teleport and mind blast you,
and take away illnesses. Could he
actually? The Crow could like force drugs out of you. He forced like heroin to pop out of a woman's arm, which is part of the narrative. So, could he do it with blood?
Could Jesus just pull the power? He could like just cure him of his cronus though, and he would just die then. He would cure him of it.
He could just heal him to death.
He just heal him and he dies.
That's basically like using the turn undead or heal on a zombie in some of these RPGs that kills them. So maybe. If
that's a good shout.
As an undead.
Yeah, I reckon he could just heal him. Undead. We already know.
He also has a crow as well.
We know from the books he can heal people. If we've got to take them at face value. We have to do that for this experiment.
You know, what did he? He made someone see. He made someone stand.
Yeah.
So we didn't see any like regrowing of limbs, did we? In the Bible?
No.
Did he make anyone regrow their arms or anything like that?
No, we didn't see. No, we didn't see that.
So did he see that shit then?
Of course they were.
You have a paper cut.
You turned water into wine, as I remember.
That'd be good.
Yeah, you can get wasted afterwards.
Is it just water to wine, or can he turn like water into acid or gasoline?
I imagine if you can turn it into alcohol, and you can turn the pH level up a lot more, so you can turn it to acid.
If you turn it to like What's it called?
Get a water gun, spray it out, and as it comes out, turn into acid mid-fly.
Turn it to proof alcohol. Overproof alcohol is literally, or ethanol, for example.
Or just straight up acid.
Straight up. Yeah.
I'm talking, half and half. So half it's going to burn your skin off, the other half is going to make you trip out.
Oh, good lord.
Straight up acid.
Super acid attack.
I think Jesus has got this one in the bag. I think he's got this one in the...
I don't remember.
Or in the metaphorical shroud.
I don't remember Jesus being much of an acid-spitting fucking badass.
But I reckon he could be if he wanted to be. But even without that,
But
though,
once again,
he's going to heal him.
We can only go on what we've seen,
Yeah.
or what we've read.
I don't think you.
So,
I don't
haven't
think
seen Jesus turn any other liquid other than water to wine.
Oh, ignore that.
Someone
Yeah.
water or anything like that. So it's like a jug. He had a jug of water and turned it to wine. We don't even know if it was any good wine. It could have been like rosé or
He did have to.
Lamborghini, but
Yeah, but I don't see. How do you reckon the crow could hurt Jesus?
wine drink.
But
Wine blast.
I don't know if he'll be able to do that before Jesus can just heal him.
Yeah, we haven't seen Jesus display any kind of superhuman abilities. And he was quite a skinny man, whereas the crow obviously better fed, better nourished.
Well,
better
yeah, but
time
he's-
of life and healthcare. So
But he's had like thousands of years to practice his skills as like Jesus had. Now, let's be fair.
not one time did Jesus do a training montage like in the film, so you can't rule that.
He might have done in heaven. He might be up there doing training montages every week for all we know.
In the old videos, I remember all he did is he ascended to the sky, and that was it. Jesus was gone.
Yeah.
No further mention of it. He's coming back apparently, but
The Bible pretty much follows the same storyline as Greece.
just imagine that him ascending to the sky. What was it? Somewhere.
The spirit in the sky, in the sky. No, that's not Greece.
Not
but-
that one. No.
What, the Greece song?
Yeah, one at the end and that kind of.
Can't remember.
thing.
Oh, you're the one that I want. You are the one for. Honey, the one that I want. You are the one for. Honey, the one that I want. You are the one for. Judas, the one that I want. You're the one for. Crucifixion on me. Crucifixion on me. Yeah. Do. I'm sorry. I like to think it's had to turn Grease Lightning into a gospel song now.
Should be a section of yourself.
I kind of enjoy this.
I've heard gospel metal before.
Gospel metal. That's great.
The song was called Hallelujah.
Oh, wow.
Actually, it was pretty decent to be fair.
That a goth and a Christian had a baby.
Oh.
If a goth and a Christian had a baby, you would not be the baby.
It would probably be the Antichrist.
It'd be aborted, let's be honest.
Depends which one's the mother. Or
If you
which one's
could-
the Christians, the mother or the father.
If you could do a test to find out if your baby was going to grow up to be a goth, then most people would get them aborted. Ozzy wouldn't, obviously. He'd probably adopt them all.
Yeah, his own army.
Yeah, Ozzy's got his own army of
The
goth.
300 children shot on the floor.
So what then? If the crow managed to get close enough to Jesus, then he at the very least could do his power move to him. But I don't think he'd be able to get close enough to him without him just healing him.
No, I suppose, yeah, it's like an insta-kill healing hand. It's basically whoever could lay hands on each other first, which truthfully isn't really something I really want to think about. Much capacity.
I don't think Jesus would have a straight up win against most people, but I think
it'd be like tag. Only once you've been tagged, you die. So
yeah, basically. But I don't think Jesus would have to touch you to do your healing. So
he didn't have any kind of a way to send healing to people. He always touched them.
did he always touch them? Did
He
he?
did always touch them in the book.
Oh, in that
He
case, then
placed
that's
his hands over her eyes. He places her.
true. It took a
hands on her
second,
back.
didn't it? It took a there to he couldn't just do without them. Like they weren't ever
Plus,
fighting against
There
him.
was the one other story. I don't know how true. It
You know what, in
was,
that
but
case,
one
then,
person who
Crow-
struck Jesus and became immortal.
Okay.
So that means if every time
Well,
a crow
that's bullshit.
touched him,
Otherwise,
he'd
it's to be
become
here.
immortal.
That bullshit. Otherwise, it's to be here telling us about it now.
Probably the same.
Is it? Yeah, it would probably be insane by now. Yeah. He's just in a cave somewhere, gee, I slapped Jesus.
Maybe he's frozen in ice or something like that. Go into the Antarctic, well, fuck it, I'm going to sleep for the rest of my life.
We fell off the edge of the earth.
Past the border.
Yeah. Christians technically believe the earth is flat, I think, don't they? So
Do I? I've never never heard that.
I mean, technically back then they believed it. Some mention of it, but obviously they're just like...
I thought the world was flat back then.
Yeah, exactly. So it would have been written into the book somewhere.
I don't remember referencing it. Oh, by the way, the earth is flat. Between the gospels.
But they wouldn't mention it, wouldn't they? Be like us being like I don't know. You remember the moon is rock, or remember the light is bright. I don't know, something obvious.
Points.
Water is wet. So I don't know. I'm not going to point it out. I don't.
Disturbing. Water was dry. You just put your hand in. Like, oh, my hand is so dry now. God, that was a mistake. I was put it in sand.
I reckon, to be fair, I think it's kind of swung it a bit. I reckon there's a chance that the Crow might win after all in that case, so now.
It's hard to say. I mean, once again, if it is literally the case of whoever touches the first wins, then I suppose the goat, the Crow.
But Jesus has never
had an advantage because he could teleport into the shadows or whatever. You didn't really see him teleport, he just disappeared and then reappeared.
And Jesus doesn't really seem like he's too used to doing it to someone that doesn't want it.
Jesus
isn't used to raping.
What?
It sounded like a rape. Jesus is not used to raping.
Jesus isn't really used to fighting, but then he lived in a kind of more crazy time, so maybe he was used to fighting. You know.
Have you ever seen Preacher?
No.
Preacher, they find the true descendant of Jesus.
That is one of the inbred or something.
Yeah, it's inbred, so he's a fucking complete. He's completely fire retardant. You know what I meant from last week's episode.
Is that your kind of cover up?
It's my way around saying that, yeah. He was completely fire retardant. Because everyone knows what I mean when I say that. But yeah, I think, you know what, the Crow might win it in that case now, because we've got to make a deciding on this. I think we're up to time on this. Yeah, we're up to an hour 17. Like an hour 10 once I've edited little bits out. So we need a deciding vote. Normally this is just going to be the starting part after the podcast, and we decide within that starting bit who would win. But we've got to the end and we still don't know who's going to win. I am going to vote now for the Crow, I think.
I think I'll go with the Crow as well.
Yeah.
In regards to more offensive abilities compared to defensive ones.
And I don't buy that Jesus would be able to get his miracles. You're right, he always puts his hands on. Takes a bit of time. I don't think he'd be able to heal him in time before the Crow did some shit. I mean, he couldn't fight off a load of Romans, so we didn't even try. He probably would have turned you cheek. He wouldn't even try to fight, actually. So I'm going to teach the devil, but not even partaking in this silly fight. Because I am Jesus.
Yeah, he didn't really do anything other than run to people and perform miracles. So quite frankly, he wasn't much of an amazing prophet. You know, he didn't win any wars or he just preached peace.
He didn't even write the book.
No.
Someone else read about it. They probably embellished him anyway.
Satan wrote it.
I mean, apparently, like we said, the story of turning water into wine was actually him putting a load of foreskins into a jar and it turned red.
I had heard that, but that can't be true. But then would you really write it in your holy book that he did something so gnarly?
Well, it wasn't a holy book then, was it? It was just a group of stories put together by one of his followers. I don't know who was the one that wrote a bit about what God did at the beginning, because I don't know where he got that from. Because Jesus didn't write this stuff, so I don't know who wrote.
How did you know?
Genesis, that was it, yeah. Which of his followers was able to get this knowledge from Jesus and would have got it from God?
Well, would he have been shown visions like that?
God knows. Well,
God knows, yeah.
Yeah.
So God was like, I need someone to write a book about me. I'm rather famous.
Yeah.
You there. That's how it was happened. It's just like, I'm going to write about this.
It wasn't even. It was found like much later, wasn't it? It was like a couple of 100 years. It was actually put together as the Bible, and there was the different books from the different followers. That's why the Book of John, the Book of
that's
whoever.
Why actually Christianity breaks down, like the Catholic.
Yeah, there's all these different versions because of the different. But they were still all written like it was like there was a big gap of like 100 or so years before they were put together as the Bible, and then after that it was just edited down with the whole Constantinople thing.
It's been edited continuously. Obviously, within our lifetime, it's gone from you were gay, you will burn in hell to God loves gays.
Yeah.
Not a problem. Obviously, it's about time they got with the rest.
There wasn't so much editing. That's just
but
now.
Still, they changed it.
Changed their opinion.
The only reason you wrote that in the first place is because obviously the Greeks, and you weren't too very friendly with them back in the day.
But still, though, getting away from that, we're still getting away from the original thing there. It was like the first person that first put that though, like where that all happened at the beginning? And where did they get that? I'd love to know the logic of the first person reading that and be like, oh, John, or oh, there's too many Johns already. Oh, Bob, how did you know about this all happening in the beginning? Where did you get this all from?
Who told you about Adam and Eve? Speak.
Yeah, Jesus told me about all these different stories. But you never knew Jesus. He was around 150 years ago. Oh, well, I heard it from Jesus' friend who, was married to the woman who was actually my grandmother and he got passed down and all these stories. So I write them up now, And they're like, so they weren't true then.
You just make it sound like it's like... right down the road.
Well, that's the kind of time frame we're talking about. They're only like 150 years later or something.
He lives next to the Muffin Man.
Maybe the Muffin Man was actually Judas. Maybe it's still written by Judas and none of it was actually true, but he just wanted to make Jesus more famous because he never liked him.
Not a hot prophet from his friend.
Yeah, he never actually liked him.
Jesus could walk on water. I wrote this book simply to describe that fact so I could make profit.
Or maybe it was actually Jesus that wrote it, but he didn't want any of the fame that came along with it, so he killed himself off at the end of it. There you go. He killed himself off at the end of it. And now he's still around writing different stuff. He was also Shakespeare. That was when he was going through a bit of a dirty period. He wanted to write dirty jokes.
Different times, man.
Yeah, he wanted to write all these different funny ones as well, And then now he's around.
Shakespeare was his attempt at comedy.
A lot of Shakespeare's ones are pretty silly. A lot of Shakespeare's stuff.
Well, that's they have made worm food of me.
Worm food?
No, it was Mercutio when he died.
Oh, Mercutio. It's something to do with Romeo and Juliet, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think we're definitely getting to the end now with the podcast, of this week's podcast.
Ultimately, Jesus has no offensive magic, whereas the crow does.
Oh, no, we're definitely at an agreement. The crow would definitely win, and I think Jesus now was also Judas in disguise, and I think he faked his death at the end of the Bible so he could go on. If Jesus was real, that's the only thing that makes sense. He never died. None of that stuff actually happened, and he's still actually around, living it up. Maybe he was also Banksy, who knows?
Okay, so he's gone from, obviously, the performing arts to the visual arts.
Well, the writing, yeah, to the visual art. But it's all art, man. It's all art, man.
Ultimately,
He could have been, also, I don't know, he could have been a comedian one time too.
Van Gogh.
No, he wouldn't
But then I
be.
suppose cutting your ear off wouldn't have so much of a consequence, let alone a message.
True, it would grow back or something. It would have to grow
But then
back.
once again, we don't know how his healing ability works.
We don't know.
He made someone see, someone stand.
True.
I mean, no one grew legs on arms back from what I remember.
Actually, you know what, though? If Jesus is still around now walking about, like he's just immortal or something, then fucking get your finger out, dude, because COVID and stuff, you need to go around healing everyone.
That's touching a lot of people, man. Yeah, we don't have enough science.
Oh. Maybe that's where they got the vaccine from, actually. Maybe it's just his
What does he do?
his
Just
semen.
touch water?
He's just coming into cups, or he's just in a place somewhere coming into cups and taking
So
little
what
bits.
you're telling me is I have had an injection of Jesus spawn.
It's not the first injection of male semen you've had into your body, is it? So, And that is where we're ending.
I hate you, Carl.
Yeah. All this time I was going to remind you that I was going to call you hips throughout this podcast, but I don't think I actually called you anything. I think I just...
Just you, everyone else says you.
You, yeah.
Oi, you could, you.
For me it's normally, or you can't. Or you
Can't do
can't. You
Can't
can't.
what?
What?
Can't what?
You can't. Can't do it. The worst part is, though, doing the podcast, me and you, there's so many moments when one of us is looking at the other one with a blank expression on their face. Doesn't come across great on here, but it still makes me happy. Still a phone.
Well, maybe I should come up with like an audio cue for a scowl.
No, eventually.
Pout.
Eventually I'm going to record myself or something, or if I ever do, I'll just record myself at some point, and then whenever you say anything, I'll just cut to a picture of like a gothic looking person looking a bit angry. There we go.
Again? No, we go.
No, goth, but the gothic amigo. But you are the evil hips. Right, later hips. Bye everyone. No outro, I don't care. Peace. I'm going to get high.